Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I've decided to call it Blunt and Upfront Spiritual Real Talk. Now I am a Virgo and I'm practical, so I wanted the title to really reflect exactly what I want to do here. So I am a very blunt person. Some people don't like that, so I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea. But some people, like myself, do like that. I'm very attracted to people who are authentic and have no filter, basically. Those are my favorite people because I just love truth. So, the topic of my video today is going to be about my experience with the spiritual teaching of A Course in Miracles, because that teaching is really the foundation of all of my spiritual tools that I use in my everyday life. And I have found them to be life-changing. I hesitated because life-changing isn't even really the right word, because life-changing makes it seem like you just have this one life and you're looking to change it. But the truth is that we have many lives and many experiences in many different realms all at once. And by understanding that, we can improve our experience that we think that we're having here in this body. Okay, but I'm getting way ahead of myself. So I'm not going to say that everyone needs to do A Course in Miracles because it's dense. This is my Course in Miracles book. This is an old one, an old copy that I bought many years ago. I bought this, I believe, in 1994 at a used bookstore, which means it's even older. So mine, because it's old, actually comes in three different volumes, three different books, because there is a text. There is a workbook with daily lessons to do one lesson a day each day for 365 days. And then there's also another section called the Teacher for Manuals. I'm sorry, I said that all backwards. A manual for teachers is the third one. And it's really meant to be read last. But I find that it can be very helpful to read the Teacher for Manuals. I just did it again. Sorry, it's very early. I'm trying to record this before my family wakes up while it's still nice and peaceful. I suggest that you start, if you feel that this is too overwhelming, with the Manual for Teachers, because it really gives a good synopsis of the teaching of the entire course before you try to break into this. Not only is there a lot of content in here, but it can be very difficult to read. I had bought this, like I said, in 1994. I felt instinctively like it was truth, but I didn't understand what the book was saying, and I would get very frustrated with it because I felt like it was constantly telling me how I was doing it wrong and then how I didn't understand. But I felt frustrated because I felt like I didn't understand what it was telling me to do it right. So I just kept it by my bedside for many years, mostly collecting dust. And I would pick it up from time to time, read a little bit, typically read the same paragraph over and over and over and over again, trying to figure out what it meant. Often, losing focus in the middle of it. If any of you have attempted to read the course before, you'll be laughing and understanding what I'm talking about. And then after I had done that for many years, I'm trying to think, it was maybe like 2006 or so, that I joined a study group, A Course in Miracles study group specifically, where I had heard about this book before, just like online reading, I don't know, probably like in some Course in Miracles forum or something like that, that someone had recommended this book called The Disappearance of the Universe. But I never did get around to getting it or reading it. I had really little kids at the time, and I was very overwhelmed with regular everyday life, and very little of it was dedicated to spiritual learning. But I still always dedicated time to spiritual learning, despite what little time I had. So when I went to this Course in Miracles study group, the timing of it just happened to be when I arrived in the group, they were reading this book and not the course. And this book is all about A Course in Miracles. So when I started that Course in Miracles study group, I had a ton of questions. I would come every week and I would have so many questions. I have a very logical, practical mind. And the reason I was attracted to the course is because I felt like it all made sense. I had been studying sort of the New Age spiritual buffet line for many years, and I just kept finding holes in the theories that were being presented to me, things that just didn't make sense to me. And when I understood what the course was saying, I was like, oh, this makes sense. This does not have any holes. That was part of the reason I was attracted to it. But mostly it was because it felt like truth instinctively to me. So after I read this book, because of that study group, I went from asking tons and tons of questions to answering everyone's questions. This book literally was the key that unlocked the meaning of A Course in Miracles for me. This helped me understand. This was a bestseller. There are many, many, many people who feel the same way. This brought a lot of people back to the course who had previously owned it and gave up on it. It also introduced a lot of people to the course. So I found this book to be very valuable. Now, I also know a lot of people who, I hear a train coming. I live next to the train. Hold on. Sorry about that. I was saying that I do know many people who have read this who it's had a great effect on, and I know many people who read this who it didn't really do anything for them. So, see what you're drawn to, see what interests you, but I'm just putting it out there in case anyone's interested in understanding. Now, the reason that I feel that these were very important and went hand in hand together. Oh my goodness, the noise competition. The pool filter just went on. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, turn the pool filter off so I don't have to compete. So the course is told from a sort of a holographic type of perspective where the entire message is wrapped up in every single paragraph. So it's difficult because our minds don't normally work that way. So it's difficult for us to absorb the information that way, at least our conscious mind. It's great for our unconscious mind, but consciously it can be difficult to understand. Where this is written linearly, the way that our mind is used to intaking information. So that's why I found this so valuable and so helpful. Some people really resist this book because the man who wrote this book, Gary Renard, he had beings appear to him and who gave him this information. This is basically written as a transcript. You're listening to the conversations that they had together and the information that was given to him by these beings who appeared to him. Some people have a really hard time with that. But if you're deep in the world of spiritual knowledge and you don't have a problem with channeled information, which, by the way, the Course in Miracles is channeled information. And even though disappearance isn't directly necessarily channeled, I guess it's a type of channeling because these beings did appear to him and give him this information. So here are the key points of what I've learned from it, because I'm not going to say that, everyone needs to read these books or everyone needs to do the course. I would rather just give you the key points so that you can have the basic spiritual knowledge to help you in your life. And then if you feel further called to investigate, these books and this information, then great. And if not, no problem. So I made a little list here so I don't forget. I'd say one of the most important points that the course taught me is that I am not a victim of the world that I see. Most of us are taught from the time that we're born and start learning about the world around us that the world is doing things to us and we need to figure out how to react. And if we're brought up in a loving, safe environment, that can be a much more pleasant experience. And if we're being brought up in an unsafe environment, a lot of what it feels like as far as having the world be done to us feels like, we have to be like this and we have to defend ourselves and be ready for attack. because the world appears to be a very frightening, scary place. So if we believe that the world is being done to us and we are victims of the world, it feels very disempowering and it feels very scary, and it can lead to a very miserable experience in life. So what was most powerful to me to understand from the Course is that I am not a victim of the world I see, and the world is not being done to me, it's being done by me. That everything that we see in the outer world is actually a projection of what is inside of us. Everyone is experiencing something different. Even though we all appear in our bodies to be sharing this same planet together, everyone is having an entirely different experience, and it's all based upon their perception. It's all based upon their inner world of how they experience the outer world. And that's where manifestation comes into play. So there are many teachings on the spiritual buffet line, that want to teach you that how to manipulate the world, basically, things like The Secret and things like that, how to use manifestation to help you, create the life you want in this world. But often those teachings are still coming from the point of view where there's an outer world being done to you, and they're going to tell you the secret of how to manipulate that outer world so it can appear the way you want it to appear. And that's all wrong, according to me, and that's backwards. Now, the things that I'm going to say on this channel, I'm not saying them as if they are the truth. They're just my truth. So I'm not looking to get into debates and arguments. If you believe something that's different than me, that's okay. And I'm not looking to convince you of anything, and I'm not looking for anyone to convince me of anything. And I am always learning and growing. So there is always new information for me to assimilate into my understanding of the universe. So I'm not looking for fights here. I'm not looking for debate. I'm simply looking to share light and bring awareness to the planet for people who are interested and want to learn about these things and want to talk about these things. So when we know that the world is being done by us, then we know that all we really need to work on is our mind. How are we using our mind? And once we can master that and harness the power of our mind and our thinking, which really dictates how we feel, they're connected, our thoughts and our feelings, we can perceive the world in any way we want to. We can see peace everywhere. We can see God, source, creation, whatever you want to call it, everywhere. It just depends on what we choose to focus on. It kind of reminds me, if you're older like me, do you remember in the 90s, there were these pictures that were very popular. I remember them selling them at like Bed Bath & Beyond. They were being sold everywhere. And they were basically computer-generated pictures. And it was just a pattern. It was just a computer-generated pattern over and over and over again. But if you focused on it correctly, a 3D image would pop out of that pattern. And I remember it was, it was a thing. It was a craze, during the 90s. Maybe it was, no, I was going to say maybe it was just in the spiritual community, but it wasn't, because they were literally selling these at Bed Bath & Beyond. I remember. And I remember learning the trick, playing with them at Bed Bath & Beyond, because I never purchased one, of how to do it. I would use the glass. If I would focus on the glass of the frame, it would make it much easier for that 3D image to pop out. Anyway, my point is that whether you saw that sort of secret 3D image that was hidden in there or not, all depended upon your perspective. Are you going to only see the pattern and say nothing else is there? Or are you going to look with different eyes, from a different perspective, and see a whole nother image than what others are seeing? So it's all perspective. So that's a really important thing to understand, is that the world is being done by you. What's inside you is being projected outward. Now this, I'll tackle many topics in many different videos, so I won't go deep into it now, but there is plenty of scientific proof to show that the world is an illusion. There's nothing actually there. I'm a teacher by trade. I've taught elementary school for many, many years. And when teaching little kids about atoms, for example, and you're teaching about the nucleus with the protons and protons and neutrons, and then you have the electrons spinning around the outside, I explained to my students that, like with a fan, for example, the blades of a fan, if a fan is off, you can stick your fingers in between the blades very easily, right? There's all sorts of space there. But once the fan is on and the blades are moving, you can't stick your finger in those spaces anymore. It'll bounce off. Well, that's what's happening with electrons. They're moving so fast that things feel solid, but they're not really solid. It's just because they're moving so fast. So anyway, that's just a very simple scientific explanation to start to help people understand that all the things that you think are solid and real in this world actually are not solid at all. But we can talk about more about that another time. What else is on my list here? I am not a body. I am free. I am spirit. I am as God, source, creation, whatever you want to call it, created me. This is another very important spiritual principle from the Course, is that you're not this body that you think you are. You're actually spirit. And a lot of us can feel trapped in our bodies and trapped in this world. And many of us, like me, who are light workers and starseeds, never felt like they belonged here. I, still don't. This is not my home. I know my home is elsewhere. I long for it. I feel it in my heart, but I'm visiting here for this lifetime, as I'm sure I've visited here for many lifetimes, to accomplish things both for myself, for my own individual soul, and also for the group consciousness, for all souls. We're all connected. We're all one. There is no me and there is no you. There is only us. We are all one. So everything that I do to grow, I'm helping the collective to grow. And everything you all are doing to grow, you're helping the collective to grow. We're all connected. And, the internet is just a physical representation of that. How we can all connect and share all the time. Now, the internet, does it in a physical 3D way, but the truth is, with our thoughts and our minds and our hearts, we're all connected all the time. We're always communicating with each other. We just don't know it. We are non-local beings having a local experience. We're not really just here in this little, sorry, I don't know if that will show up in my video or not. We are not just here in the physical. Our real being of who we really are is way beyond this body, way beyond this little tiny point in physical space and time right now. So basically, the teachings of the Course boils down to ego versus spirit, or fear versus love. You have two choices at all times. I'm sure you've heard this before. And some of you may think, yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, whatever. So what? It's actually really important. And until you really, really understand the power of that choice, you're not harnessing your own power. Your own power is in the power of that choice. And the good news is that you have that choice every single moment. Now, we all fuck up all the time. We're always making mistakes all the time, but it's okay. Those mistakes are there on purpose for us to learn. Our emotions are our barometer. They tell us if we're choosing ego or spirit, if we're choosing fear or love. If our emotions don't feel good and we don't feel at peace and we don't feel, you don't have to feel like elated all the time. You just peace. If you feel peaceful, you're on the right track. And if you don't feel peaceful, if you feel fear, anger, depression, or, any of those things, they're all telling you you're on the wrong track. It's a very simple tool that Source Creation has provided us with to let us know if we're on the right or wrong track. So just know that every single moment you can choose again. And we can talk more in future videos about what does that really mean, fear versus love, or ego versus spirit. What does that really mean in practical terms? We'll get more into that in future videos, but just know to pay attention to your emotions and how you're feeling. And Don't pay attention to what the outer world is telling you to do. That is one of the biggest sources of taking our power away from us, is this principle that we've been taught by our outer 3D world to care so much about what others think of us, to base how we structure our lives or how we live our lives based upon what other people are going to think about us. That's a huge mistake, and that makes people miserable. It makes them miserable. They may have, moments of ego elation, because when they're getting approval and praise from the outside world, it kind of boosts the ego, and they, ooh, I'm doing it. I'm doing something good. People are telling me I'm doing something good. But then as soon as you're not getting that approval from the outside world, it plummets and you feel terrible. That's not, you're building your foundation in the wrong place when people do that. Of course, I've had experience, doing that in my life as well, and that's how I learned. So we want to build our foundation on truth, and that is why I created this channel, so we can talk about these spiritual truths and then build upon that, so we can build our foundation on rock, not on sand. So I guess I'll just close with saying this. There is no us versus them. There is only us. We are all one. So even though it may appear in our world like there are us versus them, that there are separate sides, that there is some sort of struggle going on, that's not really real. It's illusion. The real truth is that we are all one and we are all connected. And even though we may see the world differently, experience it differently, find different things important, find different things to value in life, it doesn't matter what appears on the outside to be our differences. Inside, we are all the same, we are all connected, we are all one, and we are all on this journey of awakening to our true selves together. Thanks for joining me today. See you next time. Bye.